What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with the RK Outpost, and the release of Star Wars The Last Jedi in 2017 obviously had so many ramifications. It was so polarizing for the Star Wars fandom, launched a lot of YouTube channels, got them off the ground, launched a lot of different fan movements and things like these, got a lot of people together, either because they loved Rian Johnson's direction or because they absolutely despised Rian Johnson's direction. But one thing is sure, there was a lot of talk about Luke Skywalker and the treatment of Luke Skywalker in this movie, including from Mark Hamill, who told us again and again and again before Disney came and put the hammer down on him and told him, you can't talk like that. Mark Hamill was very clear that he completely disagreed with the way his character was going, and it seems like another star in the sequel trilogy feels the same way. Look at this headline. Mark Hamill felt like real Luke Skywalker in Star Wars 9, says Daisy Ridley. Yes, Rey herself is coming out and speaking about how Luke felt and how Mark Hamill felt back like Luke in The Rise of Skywalker. Daisy Ridley says it was nice for Mark Hamill to play the Luke of old during his Force Ghost scene in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Daisy Ridley says Mark Hamill felt like the real Luke Skywalker in that movie. Luke's arc in the sequel trilogy was one of the most divisive elements of the new films. Yeah, you don't say. Taking a character that was so beloved and bringing him down just to prove a point, yeah, that's obviously very divisive. Luke's arc in the sequel, I just read that. The optimistic and idealistic hero of the original trilogy had become a jaded cynic who went into self-imposed isolation, believing the galaxy would be a better place without him or the Jedi involved in the fight. Some felt this creative choice was bold and daring, while others say it ruined the character and the franchise. Those are definitely two polar opposites. Even Hamill had reservations about the way Luke was portrayed, though he later regretted making those thoughts public. Let's be real, the only reason he regretted making those thoughts public was because he got told to stop saying them. And let's be honest, Mark Hamill is a guy that wants everyone to like everything. Maybe he did feel like he might have fueled the fire a little bit by giving his true, honest opinion on the character. But we know what you said, Mark. You can't take those thoughts back. Those couple days where you were saying exactly how you felt, you can't take those back. We all know. Hamill returned to play Luke one last time in The Rise of Skywalker, appearing as a Force ghost. There's a notable shift in his attitude during his interaction with Rey compared to The Last Jedi. The sequence plays as the role reversal for the two, with Luke talking Rey out of living in exile and encouraging her to embrace her destiny. Which, should have been basically what happened in The Last Jedi. That should have been that plot. There's no reason it should have needed to be taken care of in The Rise of Skywalker, other than the fact that The Last Jedi was absolute trash. And let's be fair, The Rise of Skywalker was trash too, but this is one thing. J.J. Abrams kind of had his hands tied. He wasn't allowed to bring Luke back to life or anything. This is what he did. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't like the fact that Force Ghosts can interact with things now. But at least J.J. Abrams did try to do something and say, hey, look, this is the old Luke back, the optimistic Luke. Here he is. This is as little as we can give you, but here you go. Unfortunately, it's just crammed into an absolute shit sandwich of a story. Luke's changed outlook on life wasn't lost on those who were making the film, and Ridley felt there must have been good for Hamill. The making of documentary included on the Rise of Skywalker home media release, I would never pay for that, includes a segment about Hamill's return. In it, Daisy Ridley discusses how Luke is more reminiscent of the upbeat original trilogy protagonist. Check out her interesting quote on the matter below. And here it is straight from Daisy Ridley herself. It was probably nice for Mark to be more like the Luke of old, which I think JJ felt like he really wanted that. It was nice to feel, and even in the scene, to feel really comforted that Luke Skywalker is here. So even Daisy Ridley, even the heroine of this sequel trilogy herself, realizes exactly how messed up it was for them to make Luke the way he was in The Last Jedi. And it was refreshing to actually have that character back. The character that built so much of this franchise in the original trilogy and launched it to the heights that it was, for it to be able to be sold for $4 billion to a company that was just going to ruin it with Kathleen Kennedy at the helm. Considering Hamill's past thoughts on The Last Jedi, it's fascinating to hear Daisy Ridley talk about the Rise of Skywalker scene in this manner. Some may interpret Ridley's comments as a marked rebuttal against what The Last Jedi was going for, going out of her way to praise The Rise of Skywalker for depicting a more heroic Luke. However, it's worth mentioning that J.J. Abrams downplayed the notion that he was criticizing The Last Jedi's Luke in his film, publicly admiring Rian Johnson's decision to give Luke an arc in The Last Jedi that he could build off of. He couldn't build off that. He was dead. We know that. And we also know from so many different places that Daisy Ridley has talked about how when she found out that JJ was coming back to direct this, that she wasn't going to have to work with Rian again, she cried. That was her word. She cried of happiness so she get to work with JJ Abrams. Now, I thought Force Awakens was an absolutely shallow, lack of depth hack job. That's personally my thoughts. I think that JJ Abrams is a hack, but that just tells you how bad it was to have the entire universe of Star Wars deconstructed by Rian Johnson for them to be so happy that J.J. Abrams was back. And we know from the editors of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, who also worked with J.J. on The Force Awakens, we talked about that the other day, that they feel that The Last Jedi went out of its way to be completely disconnected from The Force Awakens, and that this film didn't really connect to that. They didn't have anything to work with. So regardless of what J.J. Abrams says publicly, which he'll probably say the right thing, I don't think there's any doubt that there were several rebuttals to The Last Jedi, including the one with Luke Skywalker in this movie. Additionally, in the same documentary segment, there's a soundbite from Hamill where he talks about Star Wars' theme of redemption, how it's important to know that even Jedi make mistakes and can bounce back from them. So it would appear Hamill is at peace with Luke's trajectory in the sequel trilogy now that he knows the full story. Oh, come on. He's getting a check, guys. He's getting a check. We all know this. It would have been strange if Luke was still grouchy and pessimistic in The Rise of Skywalker. His portrayal in the trilogy's conclusion reads as a natural continuation from where he left off in The Last Jedi, having learned a valuable lesson. He made sure Rey didn't repeat the same mistakes as him, using his personal failure as a learning tool for his young student. Guess she didn't learn it the first time around like she should have in The Last Jedi. Maybe he should have actually taught her. Maybe he should have actually treated her as a student, but no, couldn't have that. There admittedly are some issues, namely the X-Wing plot hole that required explanation in the novelization that is not actually explained. They tried, but they couldn't. There's too many plot holes. We know that. But Skywalker's point of view is not one of them. For all Star Wars fans, it was nice to see the Luke of old take the screen one final time. I would have honestly preferred that we just never saw him in this trilogy, to be perfectly honest. I think a lot of Star Wars fans feel that way now that he's been completely destroyed by the people in charge of Lucasfilm. But that's just my opinion. I thought it was interesting to see Daisy Ridley's thoughts on this, that even Daisy Ridley knows that that was not Luke Skywalker. That was Jake Skywalker. So many people know that. Not my Luke Skywalker. That's what so many people were saying. And even the lead of this sequel trilogy, Rey herself, feels the same way. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.